Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday edition of Daily BetSlip. It is myself. It is Peter Dewey, and I'll be honest. A lesser man would not be working today after losing out on $25,000 last night. But no days off for this guy. It's been a tough 24 hours though. Lost in Survivor last night, down to the final 8 we were for $25,000, and my idiot self picked the Dolphins instead of the Bills, and here we are. But we got to move on, because there's still games to bet on. We got college basketball tonight, NHL, NBA. I got 3 NHL picks on the show. Peter, you got 3 NBA picks. And of course, we have Monday Night Football. I will say I don't think I can bring myself to watching the game, though. I think I need to take a couple days off of at least just NFL. I will bet on it. I'll check in on the score. But just watching the sport of football right now, I think hurts too much.
I'm not going to lie. Yesterday, the little inside radio or whatever the saying is for everybody, Ian and I had a conversation about his Survivor pick on Thursday. And he was deciding between the Bills and the Dolphins. And I had originally told him go with the Bills. But then I convinced him. I said, hey, if your gut is with the Dolphins, you got to go with your gut. Don't let me make this pick for you. You've got yourself this far. And regrettably, during that game, I was like, damn, I should have really pushed him to pick the Bills, because the Bills won. But obviously, hindsight 2020, Bills could have lost. They almost lost that game too. So would have been a sweat either way. But still very impressive, my friend. Week 14, very impressive.
The game, I knew almost immediately the pick was going to lose, because it's just sometimes in the games you can just tell like a team is just not clicking. The vibes are low, and it was immediately the Dolphins got the ball first and went 3-0, and I was like, oh, this is not good. So yeah, hindsight's 2020, but I'm going to be thinking about that for a long. The only thing that's actually going to make me feel better. Actually, the results of the next few weeks are either going to make me feel better or make me feel worse, because we had the next 3 picks locked in. Next week, we're going to go with the Packers on Monday Night Football against the Rams. So I need the Rams to win that game. That will soften the blow. To know that I was anyways going to lose next week, that would soften the blow. But if the Packers win and then the Bills beat the Bears and then the Buccaneers beat the Panthers in week 17, it's going to haunt me for the rest of my life, unfortunately. So nobody's a bigger Rams fan than me this upcoming Monday against the Packers. I need the Rams.
Baker Mayfield jersey time. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, boy. All right, let's get into today's show. As always, we're going to start with some community picks. The viewers sending in some picks on Twitter earlier today. So let's go ahead and dive into those. Sean Mitchelson coming in first with Heat first quarter money line, -135. Against the Pacers. Pacers continue to be the worst first quarter team in the NBA. Heat middle of the pack, but more of a fade of Indy. He was -7.3 in the last 3 and -5.6 on the season. Any thoughts on this one, Peter?
Yeah, I don't mind this one. The Pacers are terrible in the first quarter. Their net rating in the first quarter this year is -20.6. Their big issue has really come on the offensive end, which is ironic because they're a much better offensive team than the Heat overall this year. But their offensive rating in the first quarter this year is 97.3. The next closest team to them in the first quarter so far this season is the Charlotte Hornets at 102.5. So that is a huge drop off. Tells you how bad they've been. Heat also like to slow the game down. They play at the 26 pace in the NBA. So if they get up early, I don't think that this is going to be like, you get a track meet scenario where maybe Indiana can steal one at the last minute. So I don't mind that play at all. I think the Pacers, I like the Pacers for the game in there. But in the first quarter, yeah, I'd fade them with how they played this season.
All right, I like it. Obviously not an NBA guy, so I haven't looked at any NBA game today. The Heat, 3.5-point favorites on the road in Indiana. So Sean Mitchelson's back in the Heat in the first quarter. I like it. Let's move on to the next one. I can chime in on the next pick because it's a pick I'm actually on as well. So this comes in from J Lops at J_Lops or Lopes. Don't know. But he's on Arizona State plus 3.5 against Creighton, a little college basketball action. I'm also on the play. I gave this play out on Vegas Insider this morning, but I will say I'm a little nervous because our college basketball expert, Reed Wallach, is on Creighton, -3.5. So myself and Reed, I would much rather be on the same side as Reed than be on the opposite side, but we're butting heads tonight. The reason why I'm back in Arizona State, the Creighton is a 3-point shooting team. We all know this, and Arizona State is extremely good defending the perimeter. I think they're 8th in opponent 3-point field goal percentage. And their defense as a whole has just been fantastic this year. But As Reed pointed out in his article, some other numbers might point towards some regression from Arizona State's defense. So you can check that article out over on BetSided. So yeah, it's me and J Lops against Reed tonight. Arizona State against Creighton should be a pretty intriguing Pac-12 against Big East game tonight. Do you have any thoughts on that one, Peter? Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on. I haven't dove into much college basketball today, right. So let's go for it.
All right. Well, here we go back to some NBA. Hopefully you have an opinion on this one because I certainly don't. It is the Minnesota Timberwolves +4 in Portland taking on the Trailblazers. This comes in from Hot Takes with TP3 at TP3 Bets. Do you have any comment for this one, Peter?
Yeah, I don't mind this play. Reed actually wrote, to bring up Reed again, he actually wrote the preview on this one. He found a stat that I hadn't noticed. Since Karl-Anthony Towns has been out of the lineup with a calf injury, the Wolves are actually playing at a top 10 offensive rating in the NBA, which is wild because they were like a bottom 10 offense with him in the league, in the lineup, which is really wild. He's probably their most complete offensive player. But it's turned into more touches for Anthony Edwards. D'Angelo Russell has the ball in his hands a little bit more. So I think it's just not as many mouths to feed. And it's actually kind of helped some of these guys get into a rhythm. They're just haven't been taking as many shots as they did last year. So I don't mind this play at all. Portland is a solid team so far this season, but they're not, gangbusters by any stretch of the imagination. I think the issue with Portland is defensively. I just don't know inside against Rudy Gobert. And then obviously on the wing against Anthony Edwards, they don't really have a ton of lockdown defenders on the outside. Like Josh Hart's probably going to match up with Anthony Edwards. I like that matchup for the Wolves. So 4 points just feels like too many in a division game. These teams are playing for the second time in 3 days. So I think it'll be a close one.
All right, Wolves +4 coming in from TP3 Bets for another NBA play. Let's move on to the third community pick here. Coming in from Shay. I'm guessing it's Shay because what Shay Gilgeous-Alexander, right? I wonder if this is him. This is his burner. At Riding Perp. Penguins money line. This is a NHL play for tonight. The Penguins are taken on this is one of my picks. I should know this. Penguins are taking on the Stars. I just had a little bit of a brain fart there. Penguins home favorites around -125. You can get them at. I'll talk about this game in a little bit when I break down my best bets. But a little hockey action. Very sneakily, I will say about the Stars, they're all of a sudden one of the better offensive teams in the NHL, which is not something we've seen from them the past couple of years. They've been a very defensive, conservative team. This year, very offensive, especially in like expected goals for and just shooting percentage. So it's a little bit of a different look for a Dallas Stars team that we're not used to seeing. But I'll break down my pick for that game in a little bit. I believe we have one more community pick for tonight before we get into our best bets, though. So let's get to that. Cody Wells, college basketball action here. Syracuse -22 against Monmouth. He lists off some stats here. Looks like Syracuse has a pretty significant advantage in all of those areas. Only a little bit of a slight advantage in rebounding. The one that sticks out to me the most at Cody Wells' list is turnovers. 46 for Syracuse, 356, which might be dead last. I'm going to take a look to see how many college basketball teams there are. I think it's 356 or 357. Tough to bet on a team that turns the ball over there's 363 Division I teams. So Monmouth 356, so 363 teams turning the ball over in 23.8% of possessions. Peter, you have Monmouth's an MAAC team, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a MAC team. I did some Monmouth write-ups earlier in the year, and I was just surprised they didn't bring in anyone in the transfer portal. They lost I believe it was 4 or 5 rotation players from last year, and they didn't bring anyone in the transfer portal. So this is a super, super young team. They're also in a new conference this year. They left the MAC. I believe they're in what's the new? They're in a new conference though this year. Maybe Conference USA. They're in a new conference.
They're in Colonial. The Colonial
that's what it was. Yeah. So they're in a new conference. Just not nearly. They were like a powerhouse at times in the MAC. Just not nearly as good of a team this year. When you don't return a lot of minutes, they're like 1-9 on the season. When you don't return a lot of minutes, obviously with a young team, you're going to have turnover issues, but they've just been brutal on offense all season long. I can't see them breaking that Syracuse zone. Teams struggle when they see the Syracuse zone in ACC play and they know they're playing it. I can't imagine a team that's not used to seeing that zone just coming in with a young squad and, breaking it down. That's not going to happen. I feel like that's a game that's Syracuse or nothing for me.
Yeah, Syracuse got off to a little bit of a rough start. Just looking over the games right now, lost to Colgate by 12 points. Lost to St. John's, lost to Bryant by a point. But they have turned things around a little bit. Beat Notre Dame in a close game. Beat Oakland handedly. Beat Georgetown quite handily in their last game. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of an interesting game to see what we're actually going to get from Syracuse this season. So there you have it. Those are the community picks for today. Best of luck to everyone who sent them in. And thank you for sending them in as well. If you ever want to send in picks to the show, I send out a tweet sometime in the afternoon, usually around 1 o'clock Eastern. Just reply to the tweet, and I choose a few that I like, and I toss them in the show, and then we talk about them. All right, let's get to our best bets for tonight's action. I got 3 picks in the NHL. Peter, yours, I think, are all 3 in the NBA.
Yes, sir.
Then later on, we're going to give our picks for Monday Night Football. So why don't you start us off? What's your first play in tonight's NBA action?
Yeah, I'm going to start first one. It's my favorite one. Oklahoma City Thunder +8 against the Dallas Mavericks. There's actually some spots I think now you can get it at 8.5. I had a buddy of mine text me and said he was able to grab it at 8.5. I believe it's at FanDuel. So if you're looking to grab this game and get the hook there, go for it. But I love this spot for the Thunder. I am not a huge fan of betting a game strictly on trends, but there's a couple trends that really, really line up nicely in this game. Oklahoma City 9-4 against the spread as a road dog this year. The Dallas Mavericks 4-8-1 against the spread as a home favorite. They have struggled to cover all year. Dallas is one of the worst teams against the spread in the NBA. And the big reason why is offensively, they do not have a lot after Luka Doncic right now this season. They also played this OKC team earlier in the season at home, and they lost straight up. Oklahoma City won 117, 111. So I think the Thunder 8 points is just way too many to give them. They're 15-11 against the spread this season. They've been one of the better teams covering all season long. So I can't get behind this Mavericks team with the way they've played offensively. They got blown out by the Bulls with Luka out of the lineup. They lost to the Bucks over the weekend. They lost 2 in a row. They just don't look like a quality playoff team right now. They've missed Jalen Brunson a lot. So 8 points is way too many when OKC's got everybody healthy coming into this game.
All right, so first NBA play of the day, Thunder +8 against the Mavericks. My first play in the NHL, it's going to be the one that was set in. It was the Pittsburgh Penguins. I got them at -128. I think you can actually get them at a little bit of a better price out there now. I'm seeing some -125s. I mentioned earlier the Stars, one of the better offensive teams in the NHL. So are the Penguins. They're both in the top 10 in the league in expected goals for. But where the Penguins have the advantage is they have been a lot better defensively this year. If you look at high danger scoring chances allowed and expected goals against, they outrank the Stars by quite a bit. Also, Tristan Jerry, I always get his last name wrong. Pretty strong start to the campaign so far, 919 save percentage. He's likely to get the starting goal for the Penguins. So I'll take him as slight favorites at home against the Dallas Stars. I just think their defense is going to be the difference maker in this game. So also, by the way, no big deal. 3-0 sweep in NHL last night. Had a little bit of a rough week in the NHL last week. Started off hot with this week going 3-0 last night. One of the picks I didn't even know I won because it was happening during the football game. And obviously I didn't care about anything other than the football game last night. Is actually on its way to losing. It was an over between the Kraken and the Panthers. And there must have been a lot of late goals because I woke up and that was a nice little winner. So let's stay hot in the NHL. Let's see if I can go 3-0 back-to-back nights. 2 more picks in the NHL. But first, let's go back to the NBA. Peter, what's your next NBA pick?
Yeah, we both picked up sweeps last night because I was 3-0 as well in the NBA last night. So
let's do it again.
8-1 over my last 9. So this is where hopefully keep this heater going here. The show, good vibes on the show right now. That's what I'm getting. But yeah, let's get into my second one. I'm taking the Celtics -3.5 against the Los Angeles Clippers tonight. Boston coming off a loss against Golden State. Crazy stat, actually, in this. Boston had won 14 consecutive road games against Western Conference teams prior in the regular season, prior to losing to the Warriors on Saturday night. So I think they get back on that train here against this Clippers team. I know Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are going to be in the lineup, but the Clippers have looked shaky. They lost to Miami, who struggled this year. They lost straight up to the Orlando Magic in Orlando last week. And they're 28th in the NBA in offensive rating this year. Now they're going to face a Boston team that's number one in offensive rating, number one in three-point shooting, number one in three-pointers made per game. I just don't know offensively if they can keep up. Kawhi Leonard hasn't been playing like a full complement of minutes. He hasn't scored over 16 points in a game so far this season. And the issue for Boston against Golden State was it didn't have Al Horford, didn't have Robert Williams. Warriors were able to get a lot of easy baskets at the rim, but then they were also it mitigated Boston's advantage of having a big that can shoot. The Clippers like to play small, so I think this benefits the Celtics. They're just going to be able to run their small lineup out there anyway. Boston's 17-10 against the spread this season. They're also 4-1 straight up after a loss. I think the Celtics roll tonight. They're just a much better offensive team. And if they stay hot from behind the arc, I just don't think the Clippers have the firepower to keep up with them.
All right, Celtics minus 3.5 against the Clippers for your second best bet. My next pick in the NHL is going to be a puck line. Now, I generally have tried to stay away from puck lines in the NHL so far this season. It's worked for me. But I like this one too much not to do it because it's two teams turning in the complete opposite direction. I'll take the Flames minus 1.5 plus 118 against the Montreal Canadiens here. Over their last 10 games, the Flames 7th in Corsi percentage, Canadians all the way down at 26th. So in the first month or so of the season, actually very close. The Canadians were actually playing half decent, but the advanced numbers now have completely started to trend in opposite directions. Montreal, their biggest issue has been their play in their own end, 30th in expected goals against over their last 10 games. So I think Calgary, and it's why I didn't bet on Calgary too much at the start of the year because they had so much roster turnover, a lot of their stars. They got new guys in, other guys went to different teams. It took them a little bit to gel at the start of the year, and now I think at least the numbers are showing me that they're starting to finally put things together. So I think the Flames are going to start to go on a little bit of a run here, and the Canadians somehow have a winning record right now, or at least 13-11-2. But I think that's gonna change pretty quick based on the numbers over their last 10 games. So I'll take the Flames on the puck line. Minus 1.5 plus 118. I'm sure with my luck, the Flames will probably just win in overtime or win by one, but minus 215 is a little bit too much on the money line, so I'll take puck line there.
Very fair. Very, very fair.
All right, next, your final NBA play for tonight.
Yeah, Ian, do you like plus money props?
I love plus money props. They're my favorite.
I got a real good one for you here today. I'm taking Anthony Simons over 4.5 assists. Second time I've taken this in about a week. Took it last Thursday. It was plus 120. He finished with 5 assists. But then I was going to take it again on Saturday. I didn't because the odds moved to minus 110 and minus 120 at some books. And I was like, I just don't want to lay that because he's averaging 4.4 assists per game. So whatever. He finishes with 1 assist because he scored 30 points. But I'm back on it tonight because it's at plus 130. And there's a couple reasons why I like it. Obviously, he had a 30-point game. They're facing the same team, facing the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was hot shooting the ball. This Blazers team has been they're very deliberate on offense. When Damian Lillard has it going, they're running the offense through Damian Lillard. When Anthony Simons has it going, they're running the offense through Anthony Simons. So Anthony Simons had it going. He's not going to be the playmaker that night. He's going to be the guy they're looking to get shots for. But the Wolves so far this season are 27th in the NBA in opponent assists per game. They're giving up 26.3 assists per game. Simons, in his last 11 games, 8 of them, he has gone over 4.5 assists. 2 of those games that he missed, he finished on exactly 4. So the only game that he's been off the 4 number was the last game. He had 1 assist. So you have a floor here where I think he's going to be around 4 assists regardless of what happens in this game. I think there's too much value on taking the over. Obviously, he's averaging 4.4 assists per game on the season, but over his last 11, he's averaging 5.2. So I like the over for Simons here. I think there's some value. Books are moving the odds on this a lot. So I think when it's at this much plus money, you got to take a shot. All
right, a plus money assist prop. To wrap things up in the NBA. I like it. I can't say I knew who Anthony Simons was before you just gave out that pick. Now I know. My final NHL pick is going to be in the big battle between the Devils and the Rangers in Madison Square Garden. I'll take the Devils. I'll keep riding them. Minus 108 against the Rangers here in this spot. They have regressed a little bit, which is kind of what everyone expected. They weren't going to lead in every single analytic for the entire season. They've regressed a little bit, but still, even if you look over their last 10 games, they rank above the Rangers in just about every single stat. The Rangers are getting a little bit exposed this season Even though, I mean, they're fine 11-10-5, but they're kind of showing how they would have looked last year if Igor Shesterkin didn't have a historical season in between the pipes. Shesterkin's still playing well, like comparatively so. Like he still has an above 900 save percentage, but he's not standing on his head like he did night in and night out last year, and the Rangers are getting exposed for it. So I'll back the Devils here. Interesting trend. They're 11-0 in their last 11 road games as well. They played well away from the Prudential Center, which I think is my least favorite arena that I've ever visited so far. So maybe that's why they're so good on the road. Madison Square Garden tonight. I'll take the Devils. I think you can still get them at around a pick 'em, but you might want to line shop as always to make sure you're getting the best odds possible, especially in the NHL. Because it's not like a point spread where you're probably going to see, for the most part, the same spread everywhere. Money line odds in the NHL shift rapidly depending what book you're looking at. So I got the Devils at -108 tonight against the Rangers for my final NHL pick. Let's try to go 3-0 for the second straight night. Peter, let's try to go 3-0 with in the NBA for you the second straight night. And let's have a little 6-0 sweep. We still do have picks coming up for Monday Night Football, Patriots and Cardinals. I think you have a prop bet for it.
I do.
And I have a side. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's talk Super Bowl. Now that we're in the final 4 or 5 weeks, let's talk some Super Bowl odds. Might be the last time to kind of grab some value here. So we each got one best bet to win the Super Bowl and one dark horse. And I will say dark horse is a little bit tough to find good dark horses because you look at the odds at the Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, 49ers, Cowboys, Bengals. It's those 6 teams. And then there is a large gap to the next teams, which are the Vikings and Ravens at 20-1. Dolphins 24-1, Buccaneers 27-1, so on and so forth. So let's start with our best bets. What's your best bet right now to win the Super Bowl?
Back-to-back shows. The sign is about the Bengals, baby.
Why not Joey B, eh?
Why not Joe Burrow? I kind of brought this up last week when we were talking MVP. Joe Burrow and the Bengals, not only does Joe Burrow have an MVP path, they have a path to get the number 1 seed in the AFC if everything breaks their way. They still have to play the Baltimore Ravens. They still have to play the Buffalo Bills. If they can win out, they would finish with the exact same record as the Buffalo Bills, and they would have a tiebreaker. That's assuming Buffalo doesn't lose another game on top of that. They would also have a win over the Ravens, which would right now they're tied with the Ravens. That would put them ahead in the AFC North. So they could win the AFC potentially. They could potentially finish with that bye. Not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. And so I think for the Bengals, that's kind of the caveat here is you have a chance to get them there at plus 1,100 compared to everybody else that Ian named at the top of that list. Like they have the longest odds of those teams. Obviously because they're not a clear-cut division winner right now. They're actually still in the wild card spot. But you look at Cincy on the season, defensively, kind of middle of the pack. They're going to be fine there. I think the difference is their offensive line has been much better the second half of the season, and offensively, they're one of the better. They're top 10 in yards per play, top 10 in yards per play passing wise. Rushing the ball, they have not been as good. They're in the bottom 10 in the league, but Joe Mixon is now back and healthy. I think a 1-2 punch of him and Samaje Perine is a lot better going forward the rest of the season. Both of them look good in their last game, and they're starting to get healthy at receiver. I know Tyler Boyd went down, but they won that last game against Cleveland. They didn't have T. Higgins. He only played 1 snap, and Tyler Boyd didn't play, and they're still won pretty easily. Joe Burrow also, if you're just looking to bet on the Bengals, 17-3 in his last 20 games against the spread. I like the Bengals. I loved them last year. I think this team just overall, they know now what it takes kind of to make this kind of a playoff run, and they kind of control their own destiny. So I don't mind them at this spot at all. I think they're the most value of the contenders on the board.
All right, there you have it. Best bet for the Super Bowl from Peter. Bengals 11-1. The team I'm looking at is the favorite, back to being the favorite, the Buffalo Bills. I think the reason why I'd go the Bills out of all the top teams, and a lot of people have lost kind of faith in the Bills, but I think they have the fewest holes of all the top teams. Look at the Eagles. The Eagles still, and I know they're coming off some dominant wins here, but they're still not doing a really good job of stopping the run, which I think it's going to be hard to beat some of the best teams in the NFL in the playoffs when you are allowing 4.7 yards per carry. The Giants got 5.3 yards per carry against them this past week, 4.9 yards per carry over their last 3 games. That still is a little bit concerning. Also, I think with the Eagles, I think you got to learn how to lose before you learn how to win. I know they lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs last year, but they're going to be good for a few years to come. I think they need to kind of go on a little bit of a run, maybe the NFC Championship game, lose, kind of learn, what they're doing in the playoffs, get used to the big moments, and then maybe we'll see them win another Super Bowl in a couple of years. I don't think this is their year. The Chiefs have a lot of holes on defense, specifically red zone defense. They can't stop anyone in the red zone. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs have some issues too. I think the Bills are the most complete team. As long as Josh Allen can stop turning the ball over, which if they have one weakness, it's that. The Bills are in a good spot. They're still running the ball way better this year than they were last year. They're fourth in the NFL in yards per carry. They should do that a little bit more often. I think the Bills are still the most complete team. I think they win the AFC, and I think the AFC goes through Buffalo. So it's chalky, but I still think of the top teams, I think the Bills are the team to beat. But since I just gave out a chalky pick, we're going to give out some dark horse picks too. So anyone past the Bengals, anyone outside the top 6 teams, I would consider a dark horse pick at this point. So Peter, who do you think, who's your dark horse pick? Yeah, don't say the Buccaneers.
No, I'm going to be honest though. There was nobody on the board, full transparent, that I would be willing to wager a big amount on in this group. None of these teams, they all have their flaws. But the team I'm taking the Los Angeles Chargers, and it is purely because I think they have the best quarterback of those dark horse teams with Lamar Jackson hurt at this point. Who knows if Lamar is going to be himself when he comes back. Tyler Huntley's also hurt for the Ravens, so I'm just very questionable about how they're going to end this season. So I don't mind the Chargers at 35. I think it's 35-1. Justin Herbert's really, really solid. He's one of the top 10 quarterbacks at minimum in the NFL right now. They're on the peripherals, their numbers stink. And I know, Ian, you've talked about this. Net yards per play, they're terrible. Their defense has been banged up. It's not good. But if anything, I just think you get into a spot where they might be able to be one of those teams where the Bengals last year, kind of similarly, their offensive line stunk. Everybody knew it, but somehow Joe Burrow was just pulling plays out of his ass basically to win them games. I think Justin Herbert could potentially do something like that, where if they get into the right matchup, maybe they get Kansas City, who's really struggled on defense. Maybe they pull off an upset. They played them tight 2 times this year. Maybe there's another upset somewhere in the AFC. They get a favorable matchup. You never really know how these are going to go, but just when you look at some of the other quarterbacks, whether it's Kirk Cousins, whether it's Geno Smith, I just don't have any faith in them. I at least have some faith that Justin Herbert can carry a football team. So that would be the reason I would sprinkle on the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't love that. I mean, if they can play every game like they played last night, then yeah, maybe. But I'm also just angry. I'm just angry at the Chargers right now. So maybe I'm not thinking with a clear mind. I would go with a team that's way off the list. I don't think they're actually going to go on a run, but in terms of value, maybe the Seahawks, 70-1 right now. I know they didn't look great against the Panthers, and I was on the Panthers in that game, but this is still a team that's 4th in the NFL in yards per play on offense. Their defense is middle of the pack. They're not bad. But I think if a dark horse team goes on a run, I think it's a team out of the NFC, because the NFC is a little bit vulnerable right now. You obviously have the Eagles, who are great, but the 49ers, great defense, but who knows if Brock Purdy's going to keep playing this well. The Cowboys almost just lost to the Texans. I think Mike McCarthy could screw them in the playoffs. Dak Prescott has looked bad at times. So I think if a dark horse team goes on a run, it's going to be from the NFC, and I think the team that's probably the best equipped is the Seahawks. Now, I think a big issue why they're 70-1 is because they certainly haven't locked in a playoff spot yet. What are they now? 7-6?
I think they might be out of the playoff picture right now, as of today, because the Giants have the tie, so they have a tie. They have a lead over them. I think they might.
They are as of today. Yes, as of today, they're actually out of the playoffs. So. They certainly need either Washington or the Giants to win this weekend. A tie between the two teams again, a second tie would really hurt Seattle. So, but I think the Seahawks still have a decent chance to get in there. I think the Giants or the Commanders are going to fall out, especially with their schedule. But the Seahawks don't exactly have an easy schedule either. 49ers, Chiefs, Jets, and Rams. They're going to have to upset either the 49ers, Chiefs, or Jets. They got to go 2-2 at least. So that's probably why their odds are all the way down at 70-1. But if they sneak in, I guarantee at the start of the playoffs, they won't be 70-1. And I think they're a team that could go on a little bit of a run. So not predicting it, but in terms of just straight up crazy odds for a team, I think it's the Seahawks.
You do bring up a good point about the schedule, because I guess part of the Chargers thing, which I forgot to mention, they play Titans at home, Colts on the road, Rams at home, Broncos on the road. It's a pretty easy end to the season. They could potentially go 4-0 there, which they're not going to win the division from the Chiefs, but they could finish with maybe the number 1 wild card in the AFC, which could be a little bit more favorable than where they are right now.
How about that? A little Battle of Los Angeles on New Year's Day.
Yeah, it's not bad. Wish both teams were good.
Yes. I wish they were both as good as they were last year, but oh well, that's the way she goes. All right, let's finish things up with our best bet for Monday Night Football. Producer JJ chimes in, no one is going to that game. That's right. Yeah, the Rams and the Chargers have no home field advantage. There's always the opposing teams that have fans there. So when they play against each other, what fans are in the stadium? Great question. There's no away fans to come to actually go to the game. All right, let's talk Monday Night Football. It is the Patriots. It is the Cardinals. I mentioned earlier I'm sour about the NFL after losing my $25,000 survivor pool last night, so I'm probably not going to watch this game, or I might just have it on in the background. But I will bet on it. I'll start with my pick. I'm just going to go with the Patriots here. I got them at a pretty decent line. I got them early last week at -1.5. It's all the way up to, I think, is it at 3.5 at some places? It's definitely at least at 2.5. No, as of right now, at least on FanDuel, it's at 2.5.
2.5, yeah.
I got it at 1.5 here, though. I was surprised to see the line was this short because I think the Patriots are way better than the Cardinals. I think maybe we're kind of underselling the Patriots because of their performance last week against the Bills, but this is a team that's 9th in net yards per play, taking on the Cardinals, who are 27th in net yards per play. Huge discrepancy there. And the Patriots offense has done well against bad defenses. They struggled when they played against good defenses, mainly the Bills, even the Jets in their wins against the Jets. Their offense struggled. But they have put up some points against some bad defenses. 26 points against the Vikings, 38 points against the Browns, 26 points against the Ravens. Now the Cardinals are one of those bad defenses, specifically in the red zone. The Cardinals have the worst red zone defense in the NFL. They are now worse than the Chiefs in that category, allowing a touchdown on 68.89% of opponents' red zone trips. So I will take the Patriots. I'm a little nervous. I haven't seen a single person out there on the Cardinals. But hey, sometimes the obvious bet is the right bet. I got to trust the numbers. I think the Patriots are the better team here. I'll take a -1.5. Peter, you got a player prop?
Yes, sir. So we got 2 plus money props I'm giving out on the show today. The second one is Ramondre Stevenson over 5.5 receptions, +110. May say, P, why are you taking a running back over 5.5 receptions? Well, Ramondre Stevenson has been half running back, half receiver for the Patriots. Over the last 6 weeks, he's had at least 6 targets in every single game. He's had 8 or more targets in 4 of those games. So seeing a ton of looks at the running back position. And he's picked up in those 6 games, 5 of these games, he's had 6 or more catches. The only one he finished under, he had 3 catches in a game. He saw 7 targets. So the volume is there for him. I think the key to this prop, though, tonight, Jacoby Myers is out for the Patriots. He's been kind of their safety blanket, especially at the receiver position out of all the receivers. By far been the guy Mac Jones has targeted the most when he's been in the lineup. So I think it's going to be a game where with no Jacoby Myers, it's either going to be the running backs or it's going to be the tight ends who are kind of that check down option. Stevenson is probably the Patriots' most explosive playmaker on offense. So they're going to try and get the ball to him in whatever way they can tonight. So I like him over receptions. I also don't mind his total yards props, depending upon what you can get, what number you can get out there. But I think the receptions just has some more value considering that it's been insane volume. Like his last 2 games, he has 18 targets. He's made 15 catches. Like you're not seeing that from anyone else at running back. I think at plus money, it's worth a shot.
All right, I like it. I love a good plus money prop, so I like that quite a bit. Earlier, I said I didn't see a single person on the Cardinals tonight. Well, the poll results are in and the community's on Cardinals plus 2.5. So I guess maybe Patriots wasn't as obvious as I thought. I guess I'm going against the community tonight, so that's interesting. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone on sports betting Twitter like give out Cardinals as their pick tonight, so I just figured everyone was on the Patriots.
Kingsbury's not very good at home either, so I don't. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, so I guess it's me against the community tonight. I guess since I technically have the Patriots a -1.5, if they win by 2, I guess we can both win. But
it's true.
Yeah,
23-21 type of game.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. All right, that is our show. Thank you all so much for watching. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Big week ahead, heading into the holidays. Lots of football and other things to talk about. Peter, any final thoughts?
Don't think I wasn't going to leave the show without mentioning this. Knicks have won 4 straight. They're over 500. Don't sleep on Julius Randle as an all-star this year.
Are the Knicks back?
They might be back. I'm not going to say it yet. Got a lot of injuries. Jalen Brunson got hurt last night, so I'm not going to say they're back, but they look good. They look very good.
All right, there you have it. Knicks might be back. They're on their way to being back.
On their way.
All right. I like it. All right, tune in for tomorrow's show, 5 p.m. Eastern. Who am I going to go live with? Don't know. Maybe Reed? I think it's usually Reed on Tuesdays. Let me see if I can filibuster and find out really quick. I should have had this in my notes. It is
Reed.
It is Reed. Me and Reed tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk some sports. Bowl season right around the corner as well. Maybe we'll talk some of that. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck tonight. Gamble or bless. I'll talk to you tomorrow.